the stress-free home seller's guide. This is a guide to getting more money for your home in less time with less stress, guys.
And I'm like,
good morning, Jeremy Larkin here with the Real Estate Morning Drive.
Jesse Paul joining you as well.
Yeah,
Good
guys.
morning.
Good morning to everybody. We're broadcasting from Larkin Group headquarters, and I recently spent some time. It was part of another project that someone had asked me to produce this. I produced a compilation, a home selling guide that is literally the compilation, Jesse, of the last 19.7 years of my life in real estate.
Yeah.
From the trenches, right? Every single thing that I have learned in almost 20 years. And we took this sucker and turned it into basically an ebook. It's a 28-page guide. And on today's show, we're going to walk you through the high points of what? Selling with less stress, right?
Yep.
It's like the number one thing that people actually care about, getting the most money.
And how to get out of your own way.
Oh my gosh.
It's surprising what that actually means.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, we are our own worst enemies, especially when we're selling a home. I'm so glad you guys tuned in today. Show's brought to you by our friends at Guild Mortgage. Love working with Chantry Abbott and his team. And interestingly, they actually help a lot of our sellers, our home sellers, right? Like we're talking about a home selling guide, and you think, well, how would a mortgage lender help a seller? Well, we have a lot of clients who are selling and buying, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that will happen, Jesse, is navigating all the chess pieces on the board. Like, well, I need to sell my home. I'm trying to find a home, but I need to sell my home first.
Yeah.
And where am I going to go in between? And can I get a bridge loan? Do I need a HELOC? So many complexities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the most part, people can do that concurrently, but sometimes it's necessary to purchase the home first, move, and then sell the other one.
Yeah. This is phenomenal. Let's talk about it, guys. This guide that we're going to walk you through today comes from the experience of helping over 2,000 clients sell over 2 decades, right? And here's what we've learned, Jesse. Preparing a home for sale and selling it and the move are stressful.
Yeah.
Number 2, sellers categorically across the United States are afraid they'll leave money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Money on the table, in quotes. And finally, Jesse, our emotional attachments to our homes, what do they do to our judgment?
They ruin it. They just cloud it. Like our judgment goes out the window when we're thinking of our own home.
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the time, right? It's not just a home. It's where we raised our kids. It's where I fought with my wife. It's where, I made all those things. It's where my grandchildren learned to crawl. It's
death, divorce,
all
diapers,
of those things
degrees,
are wrapped up into our home.
Yeah. There's a lot of emotion in our home. And when this clouds our judgment, what it does is it costs us time. It costs us money. All right, let's talk about this, guys. Step 1. So there's really a series of steps that we're going to walk through. Step 1, go ahead and read that title for us, Jesse.
Put your buyer hat on.
Yep. Put on your buyer hat. Jesse, tell us about the evil twin.
So the evil twin, you can be, and just picture this for a second. The same person can be talking about selling their home and like, oh, no way, I'll never do that. I'm never going to do that. And then 10 seconds later, be talking about buying a home, wanting to do the very thing they said they'd never do.
Jesse, here's a great example. Someone might be selling a home and they're offended at the lowball offer that they received from a buyer. Maybe it wasn't even a lowball. Maybe it was 10 or 15 below ask. And while they're simultaneously asking their agent on the homes they're looking at, do you think they'll take 25 below list?
Yeah.
Do you see this evil twin?
We just get in our own way instead of realizing that it's just a process and it's not personal.
Yeah, it's a process. It's not personal, guys.
In fact, if they can actually do that, I dare say they will win every time.
Correct. And here are some questions, Jesse, that you can use to help yourself. These are like the litmus test. Okay, if I saw my home today online as a buyer, would I want to schedule a showing?
Yeah.
If I walked into my home today as a buyer, what would cause me to write a full price offer versus a lowball offer versus, just maybe moving on entirely?
Mm-hmm.
How can I structure a win-win transaction that meets my needs and keeps the buyer engaged?
Yeah.
Right? Jesse, have we seen transactions fall apart over a couple $100?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And usually the biggest fall aparts are little things
Yeah.
that ultimately later on are regrets.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. And some additional questions, guys. Does my home have obvious repairs that need to be made? Is there clutter that distracts from the space? Do rooms feel dark, cramped, and outdated? How does my home compare with similar properties? Client quote here: I never realized how cluttered my living room looked until I started seeing it through a buyer's eyes. Once we decluttered, it felt twice as big and so much more inviting.
Yeah.
Jesse, how often have you heard this one? We help the seller, we walk them through our standardized, our process, our success process, and they clean up their home, the seller, and they go, well, geez,
Maybe I don't want to move.
maybe I don't want to move. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Step one is put on your buyer hat.
I've heard it before. Yeah. And truly put it on.
Step two, Jesse.
Declutter, personalize, and deep clean.
Yep. Declutter, depersonalize, and deep clean. Let me tell you a story. I almost dialed 911. This is a story in our guide. I'm going to paraphrase it. I was working with Fannie Mae. It's a government-sponsored entity in 2011, and I was asked to go out and check on a home that had just gone to foreclosure. I walk. It's a wreck. It's very obviously a wreck. The side garage door is open. The garage is just full of things. The thing I didn't tell in this story, it was actually full of bags of wigs from Spirit Halloween. I don't know why.
Oh, that's good.
Really weird. So I knock on the front door. No one answers. I look in the side door. It's clear that this place has been abandoned. I open the door from the garage into the kitchen, and my heart stops. There's blood across the kitchen floor, dried.
Oh, man.
And, in that moment, I said, I was literally grabbing my phone, and what's funny is I ran out of the house. That's all my body could do, my nervous system. And I called my assistant Tamara at the time and said, this is what's going on. And I slowly crept back in, and what I realized is that the freezer had been left open and it defrosted, and meat had bled out. There was like a bunch of steak in the freezer that just bled.
One of those. If you don't hear back from me in 15 minutes, dial 911.
It was, and here's the story. Your home, you're not going to present your home like that. That looks like somebody. Likely you're not. But sellers ignore, Jesse. They ignore deep cleaning. They ignore the copious fingerprints and filth on their light switches.
Yeah,
they don't want to spend. Yeah. They don't want to spend a few $100s to clean their carpets.
And the problem with that is it'll cost them thousands if they don't. Yeah. Because picture yourself walking through a house, and then you look over at the window, and the window sills are all crudted. It naturally, it just draws your eyes. Or the baseboards, and you've got dust all the way across them. Yeah. And not just that, there's little prints taken out of them, so they really stand out.
You bet. Yeah, Jesse, we're talking about assets that are worth $300, $500, even $1 million plus. Okay. These kind of improvements, $500 to $1,000, say even $5,000, they can literally produce up to 5 times returns on money.
They can.
And
here's what's funny. I never believed that until you actually proved it to me with carpet and paint. And I actually learned that working with you.
Guys, carpet, paint, and appliances are the absolute, like they're killers. They work.
And that and deep cleaning.
Right.
Like those 4 things will always 5 to 10 times themselves.
Yeah. So let me give you a couple of takeaways from point 2. Storage space is a big selling point. If your closets are overflowing, it tells buyers there is a lack of storage. Clean them up. Number 2, consider hiring professional cleaners. Like I won't let you go to market without a professional cleaner for one-time deep cleaning. Yeah. And a pro tip is rent a storage unit if you need to. A clutter-free home just looks bigger, cleaner, and more valuable.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see people putting that stuff in the garage, and that's a problem because now the husband's left out of the show, right? Because he wants to see the garage, and if it's full of stuff, you've just.
Well, I don't know. I was never that handy, so I think it was always my wife that actually probably cared more about the garage. But I appreciate it. He was doing a heteronormative scenario. All right, guys. Step 3: high impact repairs and updates. We're having a little fun. Jesse, remember the nest? Yeah. I do.
Yeah,
I do.
I do.
In 2018, guys, I purchased a home in downtown St. George. And I think it's so important to bring our real life to the scenario. I had gone through a divorce. That was very hard. And so I've lived that, I've navigated that. I'm out of my home. My kids are not with me full time. I'd been in the same neighborhood for 15 plus years. I mean, this whole thing was just threw me off, right? So I purchased this little 1960s cottage. I put about $10K into it, $10,000, and I move in. In 2024, I find another home that I feel like, and that was an old home, 1966. Yep. I find a 1960 mid-modern. It's about a half mile away that just feels like it's calling my name. It's calling my family's name. And I move. I go in and I spend about $18,000. And here's where I was torn, Jesse. I was torn because I could have just sold it for $450 overnight.
Yep.
Or I could put 18 grand into it, take the risk, and see what happens. Well, what happened? Well, you had 8 offers in 7 days, and I accepted a cash offer for $510,000, 31 grand over my asking price of $479.
Yeah.
We had ascertained that it was a $450 house in its current condition. I sold it for $510. Do strategic updates work, Jesse, or not?
They do.
Right?
They absolutely do.
And I went out on a limb, guys. I actually painted the exterior brick of the house. Go ahead.
Twice, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The first one was like royal blue. It looked like it was like in Costa Rica. And I said, I think you got the wrong color. And they did.
Yeah.
And we painted over it. Right.
And that's a good example. Strategic. Like, I mean, that wasn't just on a whim. We thought this out. We talked it out several times. Right? Not just with me and you, but me and the team, really strategically using this as a test. What's actually possible if we get this right?
Let's talk about high ROI improvements. By the way, you're not going to hear me say transform your kitchen or your bathroom.
Nope.
Those are high cost improvements. Here's high ROI improvements: paint, lighting, hardware, curb appeal, and minor repairs, leaky faucets, loose doorknobs, scuffed walls, and et cetera. Here's what's funny, Jesse. That's exactly what I did.
Yep.
The only thing I did different here is I replaced some countertops in 2 bathrooms. But guys, I swapped. I went to Home Depot and I was buying light fixtures for like $90,
right?
$100, right? So that's step 3. Let's move on, Jesse. Step 4, guys. This is we're walking you through our, just really quick. This is our low stress home selling guide. This is a guide, comprehensive, from 20 years of experience to help you sell your home for more money, less time, less stress. All right. Step 4, Jesse.
Staging that sells.
Yeah. I tell a story in here. And I protected the innocent by changing names, Hank and Mary. I just, all these people would be happy to chat with you, but, I just figured, hey, for the guide. They called me. They had a home in Sand Hollow. Mm-hmm. They were beside themselves. They'd been trying to sell it. They'd spent 25 grand prepping the home after the last tenant, and then the home wasn't selling.
Ouch.
And I said, have you considered staging it? And they looked at me like, well, no, we haven't. Well, they were in the Hail Mary situation, which is, I guess we'll throw a tenant back in it, or can we try one more time?
Yeah.
I'm going to just bring this fast forward. We brought in a company called Set the Stage. It's a local staging company. They have a really cool policy where you don't pay any monthly staging fee for the first 60 days.
Yeah.
And you pay a percentage up front and the balance later. So here's the point. Sell the home in 60 days and you hardly pay a dime up front.
Yeah, it's cheap for what they do.
Yeah.
They transform a home.
Yeah. And they did. And we did. And they sold the home. And they didn't have to own it anymore. And here's the interesting part about them. These were older folks, like late 70s, living in Stonecliff with a rental in Sand Hollow. Do you think they really wanted to keep being landlords?
Yeah.
Not really, right? Nobody, and he said, I'm just tired of this. So Jesse, what about walk through really quick here, some simple and nearly free staging hacks.
So arrange the furniture to maximize the space and the flow.
Free. It's free.
Okay.
Right?
Add fresh flowers and greenery to brighten the space.
Yesterday I was at a home that's not selling. Took a look at it. There were 3 gigantic pots in the courtyard, empty. Well, that doesn't feel appealing when you walk up to this dark courtyard with empty pots. Keep going.
Okay. Use neutral, cozy accents to throw pillows and blankets.
Like throw pillows. I want to be clear. We're not to throw pillows. But if you want to have a pillow fight, you can.
Right.
We're not stopping that. Jesse, this is the kind of thing where someone could go to
Ross,
Target or Ross and spend $300 or $400 and really transform some spaces.
Set the dining room table with the stylish place settings and create a lifestyle feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, guys, I mean, have you looked at your table lately?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it scratched up? Do you need a new table? Do you need to put something on it? Right? I don't think, a lot of us don't think about it. These places become depositories for our crap, our tables, our bars. Last one.
Keep countertops clear except for a few decorative items.
Yeah. David and Sarah, clients of ours, we followed the staging tips and buyers kept commenting on how warm and inviting our home felt. It definitely helped us sell faster.
Bingo.
And here's the interesting part, that all of that could be free and it's going to be mainly free. And then some advanced staging tips, which is consider renting modern pieces for a contemporary look. Yeah. We're going to do that with a client of ours at Sand Hollow. He has a home that was built in 2007 and it's very dark, but we're going to strategically stage it versus stage the whole house.
Right.
Mirrors can reflect natural light and make small rooms appear larger. Subtle scents, such as, drumroll please, fresh baked cookies or citrus help the space feel more welcoming.
Interesting.
So look, guys, these are the things that are going to make the biggest darn difference in the home sale process. Let's move on. All right. Step 5, Jesse.
Pricing to win versus pricing to not lose.
Yeah. Pricing to win versus pricing not to lose.
And here I want to circle back to your home.
And what is the question sellers ask right there, Jesse?
Where's it at?
Right there.
Should we leave the room for negotiation?
Yeah. Shouldn't we leave room to negotiate? Short answer, no.
No.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I want to circle back to your home because this was a question that we talked about all the time, right? Oh man, should we push it to 500? No, you shouldn't.
We talked at
length
about going to 500. I sold the home for 510, but what's funny is we listed 479 and it sold for 510. That's why it sold for 510.
I think if we would have priced that at 500, you would have had a much different outcome and probably got 490.
Let me tell you a story. George and Diana, clients of ours, they live very far away. So he had advanced Parkinson's. They were living in Wyoming. They'd been on the market for 429 days when they called us. And, they were like, well, all realtors are the same. And I mean, can this even be sold? And here's the interesting part about it. Years. Yeah. It was an award-winning parade home. It had been featured in architectural magazines. And it had, I still to this day say it is the singular best view in Washington County. What was going on? Well, for starters, it was $4 million plus. It was actually $5 million, right? And this was not like your typical 1,800 square foot home, but something felt off, Jesse. And so I analyzed the listing history and I saw it instantly. From the get-go, from the very start, they started about $1 million higher than the market was going to support.
Yep.
And they started $1 million higher because they said, we'll just leave room
for negotiation.
And they'd gotten closer through a series of reductions. But at that point, right, all of a sudden, his health is completely falling apart. They live in Wyoming. They can't come here. They literally cannot drive here. And they were facing the emotional toll of chasing the market. So Jesse, tell us what chasing the market looks like. What is chasing the market in a nutshell?
Well, it's just chasing to find the right price where buyers will make an offer. The problem with that is by the time you get there, the buyers are asking themselves, what's wrong with this house? Man, there's something wrong with this house. It's actually not selling.
Yeah.
So you end up getting, even when you hit the sweet spot, lower offers than you would have if you would have just priced it with no room for negotiation.
Correct.
You would have gotten higher offers.
Yeah, and one of the analogies that we teach is when you're a kid and you're playing with a ball with your friends, and like if it was near a hill and the ball started to roll down the hill, you would run and you would lunge, and you couldn't reach it. The only way to stop it was to get in front of the ball.
Yep.
So guys, what I want you to understand is this. This is what pricing to win looks like. Pricing to win means a pricing offensively rather than defensively. Pricing to win means pricing such that motivated buyers are afraid to leave your home without offering for the fear of losing it to another buyer.
Yeah.
Pricing to win means that instead of leaving room to negotiate, you price your home such that buyers compete with each other rather than you. Pricing to win is the path, Jesse, the path to a bidding war, and is the only path to potentially getting even more than your asking price. The end.
It's true.
The end. Guys, unless there's a COVID market, there is only one path to a bidding war. So what happened? Well, we sold their home for $4.3 million. And guess what they got to do?
Move on.
Live their life. And George passed. And that was
they
tough.
had been working
right?
on that for a few years.
Yeah. And you can imagine that he passed in the process, passed away. And so just talk about the complexity of this, right? So guys, as we wrap up, the last step is negotiations. In our final 3 minutes, this is we're walking you through. We're walking through the actual guide that I wrote from 20 years of experience, 2,000 home sales, a guide to selling your home with less stress, like in shorter periods of time, with more money in your pocket. Last one, Jesse, step 6. What is it?
Negotiations, leave your emotions out of the door.
Well, leave them at the door. Leave them at the door, and also out of the door. So yeah, leave them at the door. What does that mean?
Don't get emotional over the offers. Don't get emotional over the negotiation.
Yeah.
How can you just find a win-win? And I've often said, I invite actually a lowball offer because it gives me something to work with, and I can go to work trying to create more offers.
Yeah. And what he's talking about is, Jesse, there's a tactic that you'll use is, say you have 5 or 10 showings. You'll get an offer that's low.
Yeah.
You'll then go back to every one of the agents who showed the home before, and you'll say what?
Find out, hey, I'm just wondering where your buyers are at. We don't want to go under contract without your buyers having a chance to get in here. Something happens when a buyer thinks they're going to lose.
Guys, the fear of missing out, FOMO, is one of the great tools. And what I want you to know, guys, is as we wrap our show up today, I was working with a client, Beth. We closed her home on Monday.
Yeah.
Put her home on the market. We had 8 or 10 showings, and we got an offer $35,000 below her $450,000 asking price. She was beside herself.
Yeah, she was losing it.
Right? And she said, don't these buyers have any idea what I put into this home or how many memories our family created here? The answer is they don't.
Yeah.
Well, what did I do? I went ahead and went back to the other agents and said we had an offer. And what did we get? Drum roll, please. A full price offer. And 3 weeks later, it was closed. Yeah. And she can move on, and she has downsized, and she's living with her adult daughter. Guys, trust your agent. Rely on market data. Stay flexible. Do know your walk-away point. Here's your don'ts. Don't take lowball offers personally. Don't let emotions drive decisions. Don't get stuck in the small details. Don't assume every buyer will love your home as much as you do. They didn't live there. They didn't raise a family. And don't drag out negotiations. So guys, we don't have a lot of time, Jesse. But, at the end of the day, negotiation is just part of the process.
Yep, they are. And here's what's funny is everybody has a negotiation style.
Yeah.
Just dance.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised at what happens if you don't let your own emotions get in the way.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. Just dance. There's actually, Just Dance. It's a game. I love that. And folks, if you want to get your hands on a copy of this guide, it's going to cost you nothing. By the way, it's actually a guide that is sold. I want you to go ahead. If you're watching this on YouTube, I just want you to go ahead and comment in our final minute. I want you to comment stress-free. Comment stress-free. I'm going to send you a copy. Stress-free. It doesn't matter if you're years away from selling. Comment stress-free. I'm going to get you a copy of this guide. It is going to make your life better. I cannot express this, guys. When you get the guide, you're going to be able to walk through step 7, which is contract to close, your journey to the closing table, walks you kind of through those final, the nuances, right? But this guide is about taking control and being offensive versus defensive. Again, comment stress-free, or shoot us a message somewhere, wherever you're watching this, an email or a text, and say, hey, I want a copy of the guide. Jeremy Larkin, Larkin Group, Keller Williams Realty, and
Jesse Paul.
Guys, We wish you the very best. Have a great day.
Over and out.